What up guys? Today I'm going to show you how to install one of these. So like I said, today I'm going to show you how to install a factory throttle body onto a 05 Mustang GT. The reason why I'm doing it is because my tuner says that there's a little bit of stumble and you can feel it. There's a tip-in stumble and he says that it's the throttle body, factory throttle body wearing out. This can also go towards installing aftermarket throttle bodies. It's the same idea, but mine will be a factory for a factory. So, some of the things you'll need to install this throttle body are one, multimeter. This is pretty easy if you're afraid of electricity. It's really not that big of a deal. It's really just a double check. I have nut drivers for all the hose clamps. You'll have hose clamps on your factory intake or aftermarket intake. Allen wrenches for the throttle body. Small screwdriver for picking off electrical connectors. And of course, throttle body. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get your intake out of the way. Yours might be factory. You have one hose clamp, you pull it right off. A couple of connectors to pull the whole thing out if you want. I'm going to take this elbow off my Paxton. There's a connector down here for the bypass valve. We'll get this out of the way, and then we'll continue on. So the next item on the docket is to check the TPS voltage. If you look at the TPS sensor, if I can get to focus, you can see that there's 4 wires. The bottom wire is yellow. That's the one we're going to check. You're going to use your multimeter. You're going to put the black wire to ground, and you're going to stick the probe of the red lead into here past the blue insulation. If I can zoom in. Past the blue insulation, and you'll get down into the metal part of the connector. You do not have to pierce the wire. Just go through the insulation. When you're doing this, the key has to be in the on position. Don't have the car running. Do this, record the voltage in DC, write that down for future reference. So, as you can see, I was able to, bad music, I was able to see a voltage reading of 1.21 volts. That's very important to remember. We're just going to double check that because if your voltage is different, the car will run differently. That's the sensor that tells the car how much throttle you're giving it or how much the blades are actually opening it based on what you're commanding. I grounded on this bolt right here. It's a very good ground. You see the ground straps coming right into it. And then you just stick it right in there. It's pretty straightforward. Next step, unhook both electrical connectors. One's the throttle positioning sensor and one's the actual throttle drive motor. Here's a connector for that. And then after we're done doing that, we're going to disconnect 4 Allens. There's 2 on the bottom. Same positions here, mirrored onto the bottom. And be careful when you pull it off, there's a seal that's actually in the throttle and the actual intake manifold. It's sealed, and I believe it's orange, you'll see it. Don't rip it, otherwise you have to buy a new one.
Are you ready?
So, now that I got that off, one thing you might have noticed is that for the bottom right hand, especially with the blower in the way, I ended up going and getting a 1/4 inch ratchet, extension, 1/4 inch driver, and then a bit for hex head. It's 5mm. That's what all the bolts are on mine. I can't remember if different bolts came with this intake or not, so yours might be slightly different, but this is not a terrible idea. You can get it with a longer Allen wrench, but if you got this at your disposal, go ahead and grab it. You can see right there the gasket that I was talking about. It's orange. Just leave it in there, look at it, make sure that it hasn't fallen out of its track where it'll be pinched when you put the new throttle body on. But check it, make sure there's no cracks, nothing that'll cause any issues, any sealing issues, because if you do, then you have a vacuum leak and that's an issue. For me, it'd be boost as well, boost leak. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to toss the new throttle body on there, and then we'll get back at it. So we have the new throttle body on. As you can see, you don't have to tighten these super tight. You'll feel them start to snug, and it'll stop turning. Give it maybe 15 degrees after that, plenty tight. Doesn't have to be killer tight. It's got a seal on it. I plugged everything back in. Also, when I tighten this down, you can see I kind of crisscrossed, progressively making them tighter. Don't just tighten one down all the way. You'll see the throttle body starting to flatten out. It's more so this case to the throttle body. Take your time. You don't want to snap the plastic inserts here or strip anything out. That'll just be a real big pain. So now we got this on. This is a new TPS that came with the throttle body. We're going to double check the voltage, make sure it's the same. Well, lucky us. TPS voltage, the exact same. Make sure it's the exact same. It read 1.21, the exact same. If it's not the same, what you're going to want to do is loosen these bolts up that hold the TPS in. Just a tiny bit, just enough so that you can just barely move this. As you move this, you'll kind of wiggle it in this motion. You'll see the voltage change. Move it to where the voltage is the same as it was before. Tighten her down. Double check it after you tighten it down. Things move after you tighten them. Get it so it's the exact same, and you won't have issues. If you don't do this, you'll have check engine, service codes. You have all sorts of issues, drivability issues. So just make sure this is right.